Okay. Is the audio too loud? Alright. No, it's good. Okay, good. Okay. Part 2. Yeah! Okay. Continue. Chapter 3. I put you on my TV. It's my own thing. Jesus. London. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning, local time. I'm in a pub in Holborn with a large coffee and a phone book in front of me. Yesterday, when the train got in, I had scurried to the underground without a backward glance. I had had the feeling that several people were seeking me out in the crowd, but I don't know if it was my paranoia at work or if Eva really did have henchmen ready on the station platform to intercept the record. Whatever the case, I had managed to jump onto a train without confrontation. Considering the circumstances, it was probably risky to stay close to the station, so I made the journey to a little hotel that I had stayed in for a conference organized by my employers at the bank last spring. After my difficult day, which had ended with me crossing London, constantly checking over my shoulder to be sure I wasn't being followed, I had decided to get an early night. Which is why I find myself at a relatively early hour making a list of the city's record stores with the hope that someone will be able to help me find Yu's trail again. I take my mouthful of my cooling coffee? Cooling? Glancing at my handbag. Oh, the coffee is cooling down. Okay, I was confused for a second. The room that I had booked didn't have a safe, so I'd brought the record with me, not daring to trust it to the reception desk. I had turned the page of the phone book, continuing my selection. To avoid spending too much time traveling, I had tried to restrict myself to the Mayfair and Covent Garden areas. Ew, cold coffee. Well, I mean, some people like it iced, which have the advantage of being central and being part of the supposedly trendy districts. There's no point making a list as long as my arm. 3 well-chosen record stores should be enough for me to find the answers to my questions. And if none of them can help me, I'm pretty sure that at least one of them will be able to point me in the direction of a colleague who may know more. Record store owners are like big cats. Each one has their own hunting ground, but they often quench their thirst at the same watering hole. The first store I've noted, Yard Sale Records, I was about to say Yale, has the advantage of being on Carnaby Street. The road is well known for being crammed with clothes and thrift stores. I should be able to buy myself a few clothes there without breaking the bank. Oh yeah, I forgot. They jacked like her whole suitcase. With the disappearance of my case, I've had to resign myself to wearing yesterday's clothes, which have already been through the clammy filth of the subway of 2 cities and a train journey, all of which prompts me to start the day with a bit of shopping. I confess, when I got up this morning, after that setback, giving up my search and going back to Bordeaux certainly crossed my mind. Where would you go back to? Your apartment was ransacked. Could be bugged too, I don't know. But I quickly changed my mind. After all, my apartment had been searched before I left. Okay. The girl's finally starting to wise up, y'all. Rejoice. If I give up now, it's only a matter of time before someone manages to steal the record for me. and I need to know what happened to you. Not to mention that I still intend to learn how to use the record to return to my reality. He literally told you how. Just like do the memory like you remember it. Even if Eva implied that my chances of success were very slim. I turned back to the phone book. I add Strawberry Fields Record Store to my list. The store claims to be the oldest and most psychedelic in the city since 1966, in other words, since the great days of swinging London. Considering the age of the store, I imagine there's a strong possibility that you has been there. And to finish, a little further away in Mayfair, Sidecar Vinyls is specialized in secondhand records with an advert that says True Rock and Roll Garage in 60s. I gulp down the rest of my coffee, pay my bill at the bar as it's customary this side of the channel. Then I head west along New Oxford Street. The sky is overcast, but not threatening rain. I decide a walk will do me good, especially as Carnaby Street is only half an hour away on foot, as far as I recall. On the way, I stop at a Marks and Spencer's that I come across. To deal with my most pressing needs, I buy a small travel bag and throw in some toiletries, underwear, and a few pairs of warm tights to combat the hostile chill of the British fall. What about some pants? With the prices in mind, I try to stick to the strictly necessary. Even if, theoretically, this London escapade will be erased when I listen to the record again, it will be annoying to run short of funds before that. Quarter of an hour later, I'm in Carnaby Street. I begin, as planned, by visiting a few thrift stores. Recreating a wardrobe from nothing, even a basic one, seems like almost an impossible task which could easily take all day, so I try not to get distracted and to focus on the basics. I have to say I rather missed the coat I bought in Paris, which had vanished along with my suitcase, so I begin by replacing it with a short black jacket which I pair with a tartan print, A-line skirt, and a black t-shirt. Why are you not wearing pants? Why a skirt? I complete my new wardrobe with a few tops that can be worn anywhere, some black pants, thank God, another short skirt, and this is like finding Waldo, but with you. That should be enough for a few days. If my wanderings take me to another country again, at least I'll be traveling light. I use the store fitting room to change and slip my dirty clothes into a pocket of my travel bag. Instantly, I feel much better with clean clothes. I look at the time, it's almost midday. Wait, if she hasn't changed, that means she hasn't taken a shower. Ooh. I decide that I've spent enough time on provisions. It's time to focus on my main reasons for coming here. Why are you wearing this? A plaid skirt? For real? I spelled his name so wrong. When I get to Yard Sale Records, the store is plunged in darkness. A notice taped to the door windows tells me in handwritten capital letters, "We won't open until late. Come back later. Sorry/not sorry, Alan." Too bad. I'll just have to come back later. Maybe this Alan will have decided to get out of bed by then. I don't know. Strawberry Fields? Stuck between a bookstore and a pub, the faded old wooden facade of Strawberry Fields record store exudes character. The store is very well located on a touristy little pedestrian street. When I push open the door, my nostrils are assaulted by the sense of incense and patchouli. Is that how you say it? The interior, which is lit by a few floor lamps, is long and narrow, with tiers of records along each side. That's not very Slaver. The A side of Forever Change plays at a volume as subdued as the lighting, not lightning. Ray, oh my God. Can you tell that I don't talk that much? Rare records are displayed along the walls, high up. with prices best described as exorbitant. Exorbitant? I need to read more, Jesus. To tell the truth, I feel more like I've walked into a museum than a shop. Once my eyes have become accustomed to the gloom, I make out behind the counter an old man with half-moon glasses, long white hair, and a beard as white and just as long. Kerchow. He's reading a battered paperback copy of the collected works of Allen Ginsberg. A roll-up burns at the corner of his mouth. Dang, he got that good stuff then. I approach the counter and venture a shy hello. I have a strong feeling that I'm disturbing him. The old man doesn't even glance at me. I wave my hand, this time trying a hey, can you hear me? Gwen's coming. The man mutters into his beard. I'm seriously considering leaving when the bead curtains at the back of the shop separate with a jingle, and a young woman with long blonde hair and a welcoming smile appears. Sorry for taking so long. I was just feeding Rob's cats. Can I help? Either I can ask if she knows you, or I can bring up the record, hopefully without revealing too much. I could also decide that I'm wasting my time, make something up, and then slip away. Talk about you, because that's what we're here for. Yes, it may sound a bit odd to you, but I'm looking for a friend of mine. A record store owner. You, does that ring any bells? Rob lifts his eyes from his book and stares at me. Long, brown, curly hair, dark skin, glasses? He would have been in London a few months ago? You know, there are a lot of record collectors. I don't know any of them. She turns to the old man. How about you, Rob? Ring any bells? Rob relights a cigarette and takes a deep drag. It's at that moment that I realize, from the characteristic smell of the smoke he inhales, that his roll-up contains more than just tobacco. No, sorry, doesn't ring any bells. We have a lot of people passing through the shop. It's a pretty touristy area, you know. Usually it's Gwen who takes care of the customers. If she doesn't remember your friend, I doubt that I could help. My memory isn't what it was. As if to prove his words, Rob takes another pull of his joint and goes back to his book. Gwen shrugs, looking sorry. Well, I mean, if they don't know, then they don't know. Fine, sorry to have bothered you. Oh, no problem. That's what I'm here for. Goodbye. Gwen gives me a little wave and I leave the store. Because he said it won't be back until late, and I probably didn't spend too much time here, so I'm gonna go to Sidecar. Sidecar Vinyls looks like a garage transformed into a record store. There are 2 Harley Davidsons parked near the entrance that I'm obligated to squeeze past, straddling some boxes of records to try to get to the counter, which stretches across the back wall. The back of the store is windowless, and the cold light of the neon tubes creates a surprisingly sterile atmosphere. A small group of leather-clad people huddle around the bar with bottles and cans of beer in their hands. It's a radical change of ambiance compared to the subdued atmosphere and meticulous order of Rob and Gwen's store. I'm asking myself what I'm doing here when the person who I suppose must be the owner, a middle-aged man with a mustache wearing a leather jacket with a Motorhead t-shirt stretched across his round belly, urges me not to be scared and to come closer, all with a barely disguised French accent. I decide to answer him in the language of Moliere. What is that? Oh. Yeah, I'm not saying that. The guy seems caught off guard and starts to laugh after a moment of hesitation. He turns to the group and says in English on their behalf, "Hey guys, say hello to the froggy." They turn to look at me and I hear a chorus of hello, along with a few, hello, lady, from the bolder ones. Excuse the weirdos, it's meeting day for the Mayfair Motor Club, which I'm a member of. He holds out his hand. I shake it. Did year. Nice to meet you. Tell me, what brings you here? I don't suppose you're here to discuss chokes and stroke volumes. I can't imagine you in this territory. There's very little chance that I'll get any useful information, but now that I'm here, I figured that I might as well ask a few questions. I'm looking for a friend who is researching a record. I know that he came to London, so I'm checking some of the record stores in case someone's seen him. He's a record store owner too. Oh, as far as I'm concerned, records pay the bills. Harleys are my real passion. And I need a bit more info. What's your mate's name? You. Brown, curly hair, dark skin, glasses. I'm just gonna call him Diddy. Diddy shakes his head. No, sorry, it doesn't ring any bells. And the record he's researching? It's an acetate, 7-inch, white label. Diddy smiles and lets out a triumphant, thundering aha. And you're going to tell me that you can't describe the music that's on it, aren't you? Yes, that's right. I've heard about that record. I've got an old pal who's been looking for it for years. I hadn't considered this possibility. It could have been someone I've already met. I could play the innocent and try to learn more. I could also be tough and shut down any attempts at negotiation. I'm answering firmly. Because if he's looking for it, I don't think that's good. Sorry, but the record's not for sale. Oh no, he doesn't want to buy it. He just wants to listen to it. He believes that listening to the record would literally change his life, which is true. His name's Jean-Luc, but he calls himself Eddie Black. Ring any bells? That's the dude that's been following me. Seeing my face, Diddy immediately realizes that yes, it does ring a bell. Oh hell, I hope he wasn't too crass with you. He was following me without even telling me what he was doing. I promise you, he's a lovely guy, but as I said, he's obsessed by the record. We need to leave. We need to go. We need to get out of here. He scares me. He followed me from Bordeaux. He even tried to waylay me in a dark street in the middle of the night just yesterday. I wouldn't exactly say he's a lovely guy. To be frank, he scares me. Diddy takes a deep breath. Oh my god. There we go. Okay. Red flag, most definitely. And us? Do we scare you too? Just because we wear leather jackets and ride motorbikes doesn't make us savages. I'm not talking about the things he wears. I'm talking about the fact that that man followed me. Multiple miles, bro. What are you talking about? I get that the circumstances of your meeting weren't ideal. He was stalking me. Knowing Jean-Luc, I'm sure that was mostly his awkwardness. We've known each other since we were kids, us two. I swear on my life he's a good guy. If you would let him listen to the record. No. I'm sorry, but it's out of the question. Despite your pleading in his favor, I don't trust him. We don't know each other after all, and the record is very important to me. I'm sorry. It's fine, I understand. Well, I tried. It's the least I could do for my mate. If you ever change your mind, you know where to find me. I will not be changing my mind. One call to Jean-Luc and he'll come running. Double time, that's for sure. Fine, I'll keep that in mind. It's out of my mind. No. Sorry to have disturbed you. Have a good afternoon. I turn around, clamber between the records and motorbikes again, and I find myself back in the street. I walk quickly away from the store, hoping to cap it all. After this, I won't be followed by a biker gang. You will definitely be followed by a biker gang. There are light and movement, where my steps lead me back to yard sale records this time. A few loafers loiter among the boxes, while a young girl, focused on her listening, headphones firmly in place, moves the needle back and forth on a record player in one of the booths. The background music is folk, a little odd yet inspired, topped by a husky voice which murmurs in Spanish. The boxes seem to contain quite a lot of new releases, small presses of alternative bands. If they have a second-hand section, I don't know where it could be, which isn't exactly a good sign for my search. Behind the counter, Two sales clerks seem to be arguing. I move closer. Just because we've just opened up doesn't mean you can subject us to your wishy-washy folk music. It's way too late in the day for this. Right, Beth. First, it's not wishy-washy folk music. It's the latest record from Devendra Banhart. It's a new import we just got in. And second, the guy is a genius. And as Alan once said, once again, forgot to put his alarm on. She's literally done for, almost definitely. We could say that it still counts as the morning, right? Fine then, but I get to choose the next record, deal? Dale, as long as it's not your pseudo-feminist second-rate Sonic Youth. Sleater-Kinney, second-rate Sonic Youth. It's the rock record of the year. Well, either it's that, or it's the new Franz Ferdinand, then nobody wins. We've been listening to it on repeat for the last month. We sell 3 copies every time we play it, Garrett. Do you like being able to pay your rent at the end of the month? Excuse me. Beth turns to me, beaming. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. I had to interrupt my work for reasons of cultural divergence with my colleague, but he'll keep. The colleague rolls his eyes. What can I do for you? I'm looking for some information about a rare record. I'm listening. An acetate, 7-inch white label. Does that ring any bells? Well, I know what an acetate is, but I need a bit more detail. Do you know the artist, the name of the track? Beth clearly has no idea what I'm talking about. I'm about to give up when the other employee, Garrett, comes over. Maybe we should send her to see the boss. Uh-oh. I'm sorry. What? Do you reckon? I'm not sure Alan's functioning well enough for any conversation longer than 3 words. Yes, but I overheard what you were saying. Alan was talking about their record not long ago with the geezer who came by the shop a few times, you know? Garrett turns to me. He was French too. Dark hair, dark skin, glasses? That's the one. Oh, he had an unusual name. Sounded like the James Joyce book, You. Garrett says the name English style, pronouncing the final S's. I correct him. You. I still don't know how to say that correctly. Right, that's it. Do you know him? He's a friend, I guess you could say. I'm looking for him. It's best if you talk to the boss. They had some dealings together. They were old friends from what I understand. From what I understood. They knew each other back when the boss lived in Paris. Beth points to the left of the corner at a spiral staircase. He's upstairs in the second-hand section. As I climb the stairs, the music from the ground floor gradually fades to the upper floor. There's a radically different atmosphere. The upper floor is engulfed in shadow, the lights off, the space lit only by the large window which runs the whole length of the wall. The room is a mess, with boxes of records piled up all over the place, making a striking contrast with the skillfully created trendiness of the ground floor. Okay. Sip of water. And I checked the VOD. Me opening my water bottle is extremely loud. The final notes of Velvet's Underground Sunday Morning play on the sound system and are followed by an English folk track from the same period, probably a cassette tape compilation. At the end of the room, behind a desk overflowing with paperwork, a large red-headed guy sits. Or rather, sprawls in his chair, his head back and a t-shirt over his face. What? A t-shirt? There's an empty beer mug in one hand, a tube of aspirin in the other, and a cup of steaming tea cooling on the desk. I approach the desk nervously and clear my throat. Without moving, Ellen growls something that sounds like, Beth, I told you, not today. but punctuated with various obscenities. It's not Beth. I'm a friend of you. Alan lifts the corner of the t-shirt, glances at me, lets out a long sigh, and sits up in his chair. Even now, on what is apparently a bad guy, he gives off a calm force which I find strangely attractive. What? You? You from Paris? Patricia's ex? Yes. I don't really care to correct him. Yes, if you like, that you. Alan seems to be having some trouble connecting the various facts of our rambling conversation. And you are? Alice. I'm also Yu's ex. I'm looking for him. Alan gestures me to wait. To summarize, you're Alice, Yu's ex from before he moved to Paris, is that right? I nod, and you're looking for him. What can I do for you? Do you know where he is? Do you know where to find him? Yes. No. Not really. Alan rolls his eyes. Sorry, I just woke up and, well, we were a bit wasted last night. What are you doing this evening? I don't have anything planned at the moment. There's a gig in a pub. I said a pub. In a pub not far away. We planned on going, Beth and Garrett and I. Can we meet there, 6 p.m.? I need a little time to recover from my rough night. Alan puts the t-shirt back over his face, which seems to mean that our conversation is over. When I go back down the stairs, Beth signals me to come over. So? So he had a rough night. I told you. He told me to join you at a pub this evening. Do you have the address? Okay, so it's still working. Okay, the desktop audio is still working. I was getting confused. Oh, yes, the Fox and Sparrow. She notes the address down on a paper for me. So I'll see you there? Unless you want to stay here till closing time, it's up to you. We've got good music and a few magazines to pass the time if you hadn't got anything better to do in the meanwhile. For now, I've been to all the record stores I've wanted to see. Rather than mooching around for the rest of the afternoon or tucking myself away in a pub, I could stay here. Good idea, thanks for the offer. It'll give me a chance to catch up with what's new. We've got listening booths, help yourself. I thank Beth and head off in search of a few records to listen to. The Fox and Sparrow is only 2 streets away from Yard Sale Records, a typical London pub. From outside, I can't see Alan or his 2 employees. I suppose I might be a bit early, or perhaps they're a bit late. I consider waiting for them outside, but decide against it, so I head into the smoky warmth of the pub. The concert has already started. At the end of the room on a platform, the band is playing a folk tune with a strange pagan sound. I order a drink and move closer to the stage. I allow the singer's incantation to lull me. She is completely immersed in her performance, which is punctuated by a large, bearded man who thumps on a big drum with a stick. It is accompanied by a few crystalline guitar notes and the low humming of a cello. I take a moment to consider today's inquiries. They weren't a huge success. Anyway, all I can hope for is that Ellen will have some answers for me. At least it seems as though I managed to shake off Eva for the time being. But something tells me it's just a temporary reprieve. I'm dragged away from my musings by a hand on my shoulder. This band do a fantastic version of Willow Song. You know, the track from the soundtrack of The Wicker Man? I love their interpretation of it. I look up at my companion and realize that he must measure at least 6'3". Dang. Something I hadn't noticed when he was slumped behind his desk. Do you like it? It's not bad, but I admit I probably wouldn't listen to it at home. He gestured that he hasn't heard me with the volume of the band. I hesitate to take his arm so I can repeat it into his ear. Seeing my hesitation, he leans down just as I'm standing on my tippy toes, and in the confusion of the moment, I simply tell him, yes, it's great. Ellen gives me a slightly embarrassed smile. Oh, okay. There's a moment of silence before I notice that I haven't released his arm. I let go, a little hastily, hoping that I'm not blushing at my own awkwardness. This is not turning into a love story, is it? When I take a step back, he puts a hand on my shoulder and says into my ear, we managed to find a table. Are you coming? We'll be able to talk more easily. Beth is waiting for us at a table on the other side of the pub, far enough from the stage for the music to be a reasonable level to talk without yelling. Ooh. Garrett joins us, carrying 3 pints of beer which teeter dangerously between his hands. He slides over to Alan and another one to Beth. Sorry, I didn't know what you were drinking. I raised my scarcely touched gin and tonic. Ew, this romances. I'm all set, thanks. We're going to go over and listen. Can you keep our seats after the set? Alan agrees with a thumbs up. Garrett and Beth vanish into the crowd around the stage, and Alan turns to me. I'm sorry about earlier. I went to see Herman Dune in concert last night after we had had a few drinks, and he got a little out of control. It doesn't happen to him as often as all that, but well, I admit that today has been a little difficult. Anyway, as you can see, I'm feeling much better tonight. Alan takes a long swig of his beer. So, have you seen Patrizia lately? Is she okay? It's been ages since I was in touch with her. I'm not great with the telephone. We only met at her stall in St. Owen, but I guess she's fine. Oh, that's good. I lived in Paris for 2 years. I went for my last year of uni, then I got a job in a record shop in an Owensman, and that's where I met her. Afterwards, I came back to the UK to start up my own shop, and we managed to stay in touch. I spend a weekend in Paris at least once a year, and she spends a weekend in London from time to time. That said, when I saw you come into the shop last month, I was a bit surprised. I bumped into him a few times when he was with Patty, a really great guy, but we lost touch when I moved to London. Do you know where he is now? I don't really care what he was doing. Do you care what he is now? I know what he was doing. You know where he is now. He told me he was going to keep tracking down his record. Do you know his destination? He talked about Scotland, I think. Seeing my downcast face, he adds, Hey, if I had known you were crossing the channel to grill me, I'd have asked more questions. We were interrupted by Beth, who just sat down next to me on the bench seat. Glasgow. Pardon? Your bloke, he said he was heading for Glasgow. Beth crosses her arms, a mischievous smile on her lips. Luckily, there's someone who's still got a memory on the team. Alan sits up in his chair, a glimmer of understanding suddenly on his face. Oh yes, that's right. Bro, why is this man literally traveling the universe? I mean, it's only been, the UK, the Europe so far, in, that certain area, but, still, bro. Yes, that's right. Now you've come to mention it. In fact, I'm pretty sure I gave him the address of my old mate Yorgos. Do you still have that? He works in a kind of trendy bar/restaurant in the center of Glasgow, the Archery. Beth lifts her empty glass sadly. Hey, shall we get another drink? Will you help me, Alice? Alan, can you keep the table, please? Shouldn't we wait for Garrett? I think Garrett's occupied. His boyfriend just got here. Let's go. This is what we like to see. Beth glances over at the other side of the bar, and there's Garrett's stationed near the stage, discreetly holding hands with a young bearded man. Don't move, Alice. I'll go. Beth puts her hand on his shoulder and stop him from rising. Gay people. No, stay there, please. I need some girl talk with Alice. I go over to the bar with Beth. You said you was in Glasgow? Yeah, that's what he said when he stopped by the last time. Sorry for buttonholing you like this, but I wanted to talk to you about something else. Beth glances over my shoulder at our table. I think the boss fancies you. Get defensive. I am not for this man. No, sir. I'm sorry, but I'm not interested. Oh, fine. I understand. Sorry if I'm out of line. Beth continues her pitch regardless, completely oblivious to my misgivings. Alan probably told you that he moved to England to set up his own shop, but actually he left Paris to be with his missus. Unfortunately, they split up a few months ago. It was pretty messy. Since then, he's been going through a rough time. We joke about him not being able to wake up to open the shop, but honestly, he's been in bad way since the breakup. It really shook him up. When I saw him come downstairs earlier, all showered and perfumed, well, anyway, looking very dapper despite the hangover, I thought to myself that perhaps you were here for a reason. No. Because I get the message. Leave it there. Fine, the ball's in your court, as they say. The overworked barman finally decides to come and take her over. Order. We order. I managed to pay for my round despite Beth's objections as we go back to our table. We chat for a while. I go back over to the stage to watch the end of the concert. We order a last drink. Alan tells me funny stories about his life in Paris and London. He tells me more about how he met you. I feel a twinge of sadness. I recall the good years we had together with a strange sense of deja vu. Like, whatever that is. Like I'd already lived this, which I couldn't explain to myself. Alan's a really good guy. I get the feeling that hiding beneath the imposing physique and that Canadian lumberjack exterior, there's a sensitive child. Okay. I think if the circumstances allow it, we could easily become friends. We try to decide who, between Portishead and Massive Attack, is the most representative band of the trip-hop movement when the bell rings for last orders and closing time. I don't think it'll be long before they kick us out. Shall I walk you back to your hotel? I take a moment to think about my answer. Either Alan's extremely respectful for someone who's supposed to fancy me, or Beth has misread his behavior. I could take the initiative myself and be more forward. Whatever I decide, I can't see myself going back to my hotel on my own, not after the scare I had last night, or my conversation with Eva in the buffet car. What does take the initiative mean? Like, I'm confused. Like, I take the initiative, I guess? I put my hand on his. Oh, Lord, I fear I have made the wrong mistake. I think maybe we continue this conversation. How about a drink at your... No, I just wanted him to walk me home so I didn't get, like, kidnapped. It's gonna shake her and it's gonna be over. Yeah, whoops. A knowing smile spreading across Beth's face, right? I think it's time we got going. My apologies, y'all. I clicked the wrong decision. Whoopsies. Don't worry about your alarm for tomorrow. Incorrect. Sorted with Garrett for us to do the opening. My fault, OG. I look, I just didn't want to go. I just didn't want to like walk alone. Like I don't think I was really reading. Go back. I can't go back. It automatically saves. I can't go back. I can't go back. It's already done. Oh well, we say goodbye, go out of the pub, and head off in different directions. Bruh, if they do the nasty, I won't be able to show it. I'm gonna restart the whole game now. Alan and I continue to talk about the music on the walk, and it's only when our steps bring us to a shop that I realize he lives there. Oh, reload? You know what? Nah. I'm not going to... I can't. It automatically saves, bro. It's over. Rather than using the front door, Alan opens a little door on the side, which leads to the upper floors. We arrive directly on the crash on the upper floor of the shop through a back entrance. Alan goes in front. I try to follow, groping my way through the shadow, guiding myself by a box of records. Oh yeah, this is def gonna go bad. He reaches his desk, switches on the lamp, and then he leans down and produces a bottle of whiskey. We suffer with the consequences, and two glasses from a drawer. When I told you music was my life, I wasn't joking, as you can see. He's going to steal that record. You live here? Yes, my wife and I separated last year. She kept the flat after the divorce. Me, I moved in here. I'm closing my eyes. Tell me when this is done. To start with, it was in the meantime, but it was a temporary measure that is sneakily transforming itself into a permanent solution, if you see what I mean. He points at a door with the private sign behind us. When I did work for the shop, we kept a separate space with a kitchen and a shower. For convenience, it was easy to turn into a flat. We go into the private area. Oh no! Alan ignores the switch for the main light and turns on a few lamps instead, no doubt trying to create a more intimate atmosphere. Okay, I'm just praying that he's evil. We're in a big rectangular area with a kitchenette and a door leading to the bathroom on one side. On the other side, a big mattress lays on the ancient parquet. Next thing you know, he drama dumps. And the log farm table, surrounded by mismatched chairs, sits in the middle. I move closer to him, take his glass, and place it on the table. Oh, God. Okay, they're hugging. I am not going to, I hope he gives you a soft story and then you leave. This is so funny because, like, I'm technically ahead of you. Because there's a delay in me actually playing this and the stream. So it's just so funny seeing like your live reactions. Okay. They're kissing. They're looking at each other. Oh god. Okay. Well, um I um they are literally broke. Yeah, I'm not showing that. Yeah, okay. Oh, alright. Oh my god. She's naked. Okay. They skipped over it. They skipped over it. I think I'll be okay. I don't think YouTube will get me, bro. I think I'll be okay. Alan's asleep. I decided not to wake him up. Hate with an accent. It takes a concerted effort to extract myself from the snug comfort of the quilt. An old espresso machine looks like a record. Okay, I think I can turn it back on now. The old espresso machine on the countertop in the kitchen area looks like it requires a degree in civil aviation to get something drinkable. So I fall back on my other source of morning relief, a good hot shower. I get some clean clothes from my bag. Something tells me that there's a chance that Eva and her henchmen are watching the stations, so I try to choose an outfit as different as possible from the one I wore when I arrived in London to reduce the risk of being recognized. In the same vein, I decide to put my hair up, something I rarely do. Then I shut myself in the bathroom. It's clean but stark. When I come out, Ellen is sitting at the big table, a cigarette and a coffee, both smoking close by. I helped myself to your shower. I'm glad you did. I'm afraid I don't have much to eat, but would you like a coffee? Absolutely. I didn't dare touch your machine. It looks tricky to handle. Alan puts his cigarette on the ashtray, heads to the kitchenette, and embarks on what looks like a chain of meticulous actions. It's one of the only things I wanted to keep after the divorce. In any case, my ex was incapable of using it without spraying coffee all over the kitchen. It does make an excellent cup of coffee, but it has to be tamed. He puts the espresso in front of me. Do you want a cigarette to complete your breakfast of champions? Hard to resist in this reality where I haven't yet managed to give up the nicotine. I decide to hold out. No thanks. So, what are your plans for today? I suppose the next step will be to take the first train to Scotland, with a quick stop to check out of my hotel. You're leaving London already? I think for a moment it seems like a no-brainer, but it's probably worth pondering all the same. Let's just say that I don't see what other information I could glean by staying here. I've got a name, Arthur Pullman, and a place, Glasgow. You already knew you, and you put him up for a few days. And even you don't know any more than that. All I can do is cross my fingers and hope that the trail doesn't dry up. And if this Arthur Pullman really knows more about the record, maybe he'll be able to finally give me some answers. Ellen takes a drag on a cigarette, thinking, this may seem a bit sudden, but what would you say if I offered to come with you? No. His suggestion takes me completely unaware. I'm about to open my mouth, but Alan continues. I don't know. I've got a good feeling about you, Alice. I'd like to see where it takes us. Nah. This was literally a mistake. I've got the feeling that I might be missing out on something amazing. How did my love life become so complicated in such little time? I have a fleeting thought of Jean-Baptiste. Wasn't the point of all this in the beginning to get back to the life I had with him? And then there's you, who is very much on my mind. I hadn't thought that by reopening that old wound in my heart, I'd be opening up Pandora's box, and now I have to deal with Alan. I know that this interlude will probably cease to exist when I listen to the record again, but is it right for me to get involved in anything more than just meh? What do you say? The immediate no. Well, I mean, it literally was a mistake, though. Like, I actually did not mean to click that. What do you say? Refuse. Bye. Oh, look, the spiral. That means I did something good. Hallelujah. I'm sorry, Alan, but I'm not ready to get into a relationship. And he just said, but that man just said, I don't see this going anywhere before it happened. And now he's like, oh yeah, bro, I want to go with you. Like, no. I've got so much that I need to sort out before I can think about starting anything. And you've got a life here, your record store. I can't let you drop everything for an affair that'll probably lead nowhere. Oh, that's not a problem. I can trust the shop to Beth and Garrett for a few days. Was it that good? Jesus, you ready to leave the whole country? Like you ready to get up and walk? What was it really that good? He down bad. For real. And don't worry, I'm not asking for your undying commitment. I'm just offering to come to Glasgow with you for a few days. It's true that the offer is tempting. Is it really risky anything to string out our little affair to see where it goes? And I've still got Eva and her henchmen on my tail. Having Alan with me in Glasgow, it would be comforting. What if they take him and threaten to like kill him? I'm feeling that they ready to fight. I don't know. And he could be evil too, bro. I feel like he know a little too much. But then again, do I want to get involved in a relationship that will probably be erased by the record? No. The spiral. I made a good decision. No, really, I can't accept it. I'm sorry. Okay, fine, I understand. I'd have kicked myself if I hadn't given it a try. If you come back through London, call me, okay? No. Okay, with pleasure. No, not okay. No. Well, it's time to get to work. After yesterday's performance, the least I can do is help Beth and Garrett open up the shop. Are you ready to go? Yes. Good, take him away. Ellen and I make our goodbyes rather awkwardly. Then I follow him downstairs and say goodbye to Garrett, who's opening up the store. Alright. Chapter 4. Who is this old man? Why does he look, you know that the Kingsman? It's like that one movie with the gentlemen in them suits that are like killers or something. Why he kind of look like the one of the characters? I forgot. Only once the train is a good distance out of London do I finally begin to relax. As I had feared, Eva had been watching the comings and goings at the station. I saw her as I was going to the platform, but I was inconspicuous enough to pass her without being realized. I'm almost certain that I managed to get on the train without her seeing me, but I'm sure she wasn't alone. If one of her collaborators spotted me, then she knows my destination. To be on the safe side, I think that it's best to assume that it's only a matter of time before she follows me to Glasgow. Why don't you take one of those, like, why do you keep on taking trains? Why don't you take one of those flights where, like, it's, like, less money, but, like, you go to, like, other places and then, like, not, instead of just going, like, straight there? Because if she catches you and she figures out that you're on a train to wherever, she's gonna find you, like, easily. But if you do, like, one of those kinds of, like, flights where you jump, like, the different places, it's going to be much less likely to find you. I try to organize my thoughts. My present situation is pretty awkward. The trail that get a freaking private jet. I don't think she has the money for that. She was working at a bank. The trail that you has left isn't easy to follow, and it seems to be petering out as I press on. Then again, if he was being pursued by Eva's organization too, I can understand he would have tried to keep as low as a profile as possible. For the time being, all I've been able to scrape together are rumors and various contradictory stories. It feels like I have more and more questions and no answers. I clutch my handbag with the record inside, not aside, inside, against myself, and I close my eyes, hoping to sleep a little. After visiting two capitals, finding myself in a more modestly sized city like Glasgow is like a breath of fresh air. The central station is right in the town center, which I cross on foot, frequently stopping to ask passerbys for directions. After a bit of wandering through Glasgow's pedestrian streets, my steps bring me to an old building. I enter the ground floor to find a small room full of mismatched furniture. The log fire blazing in the fireplace gives off a pleasant warmth. A long counter stretches the width of the room at the end. A Mediterranean-looking man seems to be absorbed in carefully preparing a basket of fresh vegetables, probably the famous Yorgos. The rest of the place is almost deserted. Considering the time, it must be a period of quiet between the lunch and evening services. As I approach him, the man looks up and welcomes me with a warm smile before gabbling something in broken English with a curious mix of Greek and Scottish accent. Taken by surprise, I try and... Hello? Yoga replies in French with a strong Greek accent. Oh, hello then. You're French? Yes. Tell me, what can I do for you? I'm looking for someone. I don't really care about Alan. I'm looking for someone. You. He would have been here about 2 weeks ago. You? Yes, I remembered him. My old pal Alan sent him to me. I know. It's Alan who told me he'd probably drop by to see you when he arrived in Glasgow. I remember him well. He was just passing through. Yorgos wipes his hands on his apron and holds the right one out over the counter? I think that's a counter. Yorgos. I shake it. Alice, nice to meet you. So, tell me, Alice, what do you want to know? Do you know where he went next? You say he was passing through. Do you know where he went next? No, he didn't tell me. But I don't think he would have stayed in Glasgow long. He seemed to be in transit, if you see what I mean. Is that all he said? No, we chatted for a while. He tells me he's a record store owner like Alan, and that he is looking for information about a rare record. Nothing more precise? The steady clacking of the knife on the chopping board stops for a moment as Yorgos tries to recall the details. He talked about meeting an old radio presenter, Arthur something. Pullman, Arthur Pullman. Do you think he might possibly work for a local radio station? Oh, we mostly get the national radio stations here. Are there any independent radio stations in Glasgow? What does the lighting mean? The lighting? Where was that? Is that in the log? I don't know what you're talking about. No, not as far as I know, but I'm no expert. The student radio subsidy. They broadcast from the campus, but only at certain times. They do a great mix in the evenings. We play it often here in the restaurant. No commercials, just a reminder of the name of the station from time to time. If you go there, maybe they can tell you more. All I can tell you is lightning. Oh, the symbols. I don't know, cause they didn't explain what it was, but I'm guessing like just given the sounds and like kind of symbol association, I'm guessing that the spiral and the flower are good. The skull might not be good. Well, might not be good. It's probably like bad. Like, I think that might end up with me, like, or somebody that I know dying. Like, that might be you dying. And the lightning bolt, I'm not really sure what the lightning bolt means. Because I'm thinking that, like, the flower is life, like, that he's living, and the skull is death, like, for you. And the spiral and the lightning, I'm really not sure. What exactly did he say? That he was passing through Glasgow, like I told you. That he was looking for somewhere cheap to stay. When I'd asked him what he's doing in Scotland, he tells me I'm researching a rare record. And whenever I questioned him, he clammed up. He just talked about meeting an old radio presenter for the BBC, I think. Arthur Pullman. Right. Here, try this. Without warning, Yorgos puts a plate in front of me. It contains a beautifully served mix of vegetables. Seeing the question on my face, he adds, I'm not going to let a friend of Alan leave without trying on my cooking. Thanks. I try a mouthful, and I must admit it's delicious. I share my enthusiasm with him. Really, it's not on the menu yet. I've been trying to find a good counterbalance to the bitterness of the horseradish. Yorgos leaves me to enjoy my food, which gives me a little time for reflection. On the other hand, I've got the start of a lead with this student radio station. On the other, Yorgos has stressed that you was just passing through Glasgow. At least I have a name now, Arthur Pullman, but nothing tells me that he lives here. And I can't imagine a former BBC presenter broadcasting on a student radio station. Unfortunately, I can't really think of what else to do except to cling to the hope that someone there will know where to find this Arthur Pullman. Unless, if I can't find a solution in the present, perhaps by revisiting the past, I instinctively slip a hand into my bag to reassure myself that the record is still there. The trouble is that I still don't know how to use it. Then again, I'm already in an alternative reality. My normal life, the future that I believed was all mapped out, all of it has been erased. But do I truly want to go back to that life? I chat with Yorgos as I finish my plate. He tells me that he had met Alan in Paris when he was a student. He had been a waiter in the restaurant where Yorgos worked. Yorgos makes me a coffee, then it's time to say goodbye. Apparently, it's completely out of the question that I pay anything. I thank him warmly for his hospitality, then I try to decide between asking for directions to the university or asking where I could find a record player to listen to the record. I don't think you want to mess it up again, though. Oh, I don't know. This is a very big decision. Because I mean, I could either go on the trail that I already have or ask where to listen to the record. Because I mean, what if it plays like a completely different memory? Because I mean, if your whole life has changed, if it does something after that, like what you did before could be different. She's gonna listen to the record again? She could. It's a choice. I don't know, man. I'm really thinking about it. I don't know. I just feel like it's a little too dangerous. Go to the campus radio station. Okay, well, That's what the lightning bolt is. I'm guessing. Well, I'm not really sure what the lightning bolt is. I ask Yorgos for directions to the premises of the campus radio. Then I step out of the pleasant warmth from the fireplace to brave the chilly Scottish drizzle. The route that Yorgos suggested goes through Kelvingrove Park, which I cross beneath the Scottish drizzle. You said Scottish drizzle, like last sentence, bro. It takes me half an hour of walking to reach the University of Glasgow, a long Gothic-style building. Ooh, after asking for a way at the reception and having wandered for a while on the campus, according to various contradictory directions of students who had crossed my path, I finally arrive at the little prefabricated building which is supposedly houses Sub-City Radio. The roof, which is laden with antennas, seems to confirm that I'm in the right place. I go in, then climb 2 floors before finding myself in the antechamber separating the corridor from the studio. The illuminated on-air sign is switched off, so I knock on the door. When there's no answer, I try the door handle, which turns Scottish drizzle. When there's no answer, I try the door handle, which turns. The studio is empty except for a student who can't be more than 20 years old. That's a 20 or 30. Yeah, 20. He's wearing a threadbare Pink Floyd, Division Bell's Epoch t-shirt and a pair of bulky headphones hanging around his neck. He stops taking notes, sat at the large table which must be used for the broadcast, and greets me. Hello, I'm DJ Saturn. I'm preparing a mix for this evening. We shake hands and I sit down opposite him. Alice. What can I do for you, Alice? Are you a student here? Are you interested in joining the Sub-City radio team? The university year just started. We still got positions to fill. With that slight French accent, I can see you presenting a show. Do you know Arthur Pullman? Well, in fact, I'm looking for a former radio presenter as Arthur Pullman. Have you heard of him? Have I heard of Arthur Pullman? Are you kidding? The guy's a legend. He had a late night show on the BBC's in the early 20s. He had some killer lineups. Thanks to him, loads of forgotten 60s bands got rediscovered. You could still get bootleg cassette tapes of his show. Then there were the live recordings. No one ever knew where he got them from, but he had an amazing collection of really excellent quality pirate recordings. He had played them in his mixes sometimes, especially the proto-metal, Led Zepp, Uriah Heep, Black Sabbath. I think my friend you wanted to meet him. Do you know if he lives in Glasgow? The young man shrugs. Honestly, no, I don't think so. If he lived the same city as me, I think I know. In any case, what's for sure is that he's not broadcasting anymore. And he must be pretty old. If he's not dead, he's most probably retired. I stand up, trying to conceal my dismay. It's the end of the trail. I got no idea where to find this Arthur Pullman. I got no idea where you could have gone next. My last hope is to dig in the past, trusting that I'll learn where to find this Arthur Pullman, while trying, if I can, not to return to a reality that's too different. I turn to DJ Saturn, who has also stood up. Are you alright, Alice? I'm fine. Tell me, do you know where I could listen to a vinyl record? We're all digital here at the station. I've got a record player on my digs, though. And if you're up for it, I've got a few tapes of Pullman's show. We could listen to one if you want, but only if you let me buy you a drink so we can get better acquainted. I remember the last time I did this. I am not doing it. No. I could give him the benefit of the doubt, but it's pretty clear that DJ Saturn is hitting on me. That's kind of you, but I'm just passing through Glasgow. Oh, okay. Otherwise, there's a couple of secondhand record shops in the town center. You should be able to listen there. He jots down the address on his notebook, tears it off, and holds it out to me. Bruh, we'd have to listen to the record anyways. Thanks. I leave the studio and the building and begin walking back to the town center, hoping to reach the record store before it closes. About an hour later, I enter the room at a little hotel near the station that I booked for the night. I was about to buy a little travel record player at the record store that the student had suggested. I sat at the end of the bed, put the headphones over my ear, and switched the player to 45 revolutions per minute. My hand trembles with apprehension as I place the needle in the groove. What point in my past will the record send me to? Will I find the answers to my questions? And most of all, what will my new reality be when I return to the present? The music swallows me whole before I have the chance to change my mind. A percussion intro. try to focus on you. How he looks, his voice, his laugh, his smell. Okay, that's strange. The walls of the hotel room begin to resonate, to distort and stress. The air blazes with iridescent particles, shimmering. The whole world implodes and I'm somewhere else. So we went from middle school mixtape to like this feels like old 2000s music from like whenever like Mean Girls, like whenever like those early 2000s like high school movies had like proms. This feels the like the thing that the band would play at the prom. uh I don't know. Smiles. Oh god. What? Genre switch up? Boy, what? Yu closes his book and looks at me concerned. Are you okay? You stopped playing all of a sudden. I got the feeling you were somewhere else. No, I'm not great. No, not great. I have a sudden attack of panic, inexplicable and uncontrollable. I guess reliving these moments has upset me more than I expected, and I know that my time here in this moment is precious. Yu stands up. I'm going to get a glass of water. I'll be right back. Don't move. I'll get it for you. While Yu is in the kitchen, I have time to look into the mirror above the mantelpiece. I still have long hair. I cut it a month or two before we split up, which tells me that we're probably sometime in the summer before our breakup. We were still happy back then. Then in September, at the start of the new school year, he began to be more distant. Was he already thinking of leaving back then? Yu gives me a glass of water. I drink. He sits. She has bangs. He sits down on the coffee table facing me and puts his hand on my thigh. Uh-oh, better? I nod. Thanks. I put the glass down on the piano. My time is short. I have to get to the point. This will probably sound strange, but do you know where I can find Arthur Pullman? Arthur Pullman? The radio presenter who played old records in the 90s? Yes. It's funny, there was actually a short article about In Les In Rocks last week. He snatches up the magazine on the coffee table, riffles quickly through it, and holds it out to me at the right page. The heading says, Jimmy Page's Loch Ness house is sold. Apparently, he bought Bullskeen House. Bullskeen? It's a house in Scotland that Page, the Led Zeppelin guitarist, bought in the 70s. It appears in some parts of their film concert. The song remains the same. I've got to say I'm not totally surprised. Pullman's always been a Led Zepp fan. He played a lot of their live footage on his shows. I put the magazines down next to me on the piano stool. I hope I'll remember all the information when I get back to the present. I didn't know you knew so much about this stuff. It's because of Mark. He's a big fan of the guy. He's got cassette copies of almost all his shows. If you ask me, some of his mix choices are fantastic. Frankly, playing Ultimate Spinach straight after the Garden of Earthly Delights from the United States of America is almost tasteless. As for his almost fanatical infatuation with Chelsea Girl. Anyway, all serious musicologists agree that Desert Shore is undeniably Nico's best album. Why not mention the Marvel Index while we're at it? Insisting on being original no matter what. Having something like Joe Bode at the helm, that makes all the difference, doesn't it? He's the one we can thank for 5 Leaves Left, for God's sakes. Nick Drake's best record. Some people say that Pink Moon is better, but Yuzov, I know from experience that he could go on like this for hours. I'm afraid I don't have hours. I grab his arm and look him in the eye. You. He stops in the middle of a sentence. Understanding lights up his face. It's the record, isn't it? Yes. Yes. If we're talking about the same thing, yes, I'd listen to the record. And you're from a future where you need to find Arthur Pullman, right? I look away. I'm scared of telling him too much that I might have an unpredictable impact on my reality. Everything you're doing is You seem surprisingly relieved. He takes me in his arms, we hold each other for a while. Then he emerges from our embrace and adds cheerfully, that means that didn't work. What? What didn't work? The walls of the apartment around us begin to dislocate. I don't need to explain to him. I can see in his face that he understands what's happening. Alice, please, try to remember that we don't need to break up anymore. That I don't have to leave you. That it didn't work. We don't need to. What do you mean, you? It's too late. Once again, I'm carried away by the flow of time to the rhythm of the song. Oh, whoops. The Teenage Ninja Beatles. Is that the same lady? It's a toy? Okay, so he's like, we don't need to break up. So are we gonna see him? I'm seated in a leather armchair. A jazz record plays softly with the characteristic cracking of a vinyl. I don't immediately notice the older man who is watching me, surprised from an armchair which matches the one I sit in. I was thinking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's what I was thinking too. What I do, however, notice is that I'm certainly not in a room in the little hotel near the station in Glasgow. I look down. I'm wearing black denim shorts, thick tights, and Doc Martens on my feet. Did I turn bisexual? Like, what happened? Tilting my head, the absence of the long tresses which are supposed to frame my face made me realize that my hair is probably much shorter. Trying to tuck a strand behind my ear, I also noticed that it's been layered. Feeling something irritating on my lip, I touch it with a tentative hand and find that it is now pierced with a metal ring. I also notice that my nails are short and painted with black polish, which has begun to chip. The man facing me clears his throat to get my attention. Oh my God, we've turned goth. We have to. We are emo now. I guess act as if nothing's wrong. I'm sorry, I spaced out there for a second. You were saying? The man gives a mischievous chuckle. Good try, but you'll have to do a bit better to explain why you've just materialized in my office. All of a sudden, she looks like a Hot Topic employee. He speaks with a calm, almost melodious voice, with that profoundly British, slightly drawling tone that usually associates with the aristocracy. Pullman, Arthur Pullman, nice to meet you. Okay, so I ended up going where I needed to. I'm Alice. I've been looking for you for some time, Mr. Pullman. Please call me Arthur, or Art if you prefer. He leans forward and holds out his hand. I shake it. I suppose that you've just listened to the record, have you? Believe it or not, but after all these years, that's the first time I've personally witnessed a realignment, and I'd like to thank you for the experience. Someone knocks on the door. Come in. An elegant-looking middle-aged man pushes open the door and places a tray with a steaming teapot and 2 mugs on a side table. He doesn't seem surprised to find me here. I thought you might like a cup of tea. He walks over to Arthur and plants a quick kiss on his lips. Gay people. Right, I'll leave you to talk. Thank you, David. David leaves the room. As you see, for my partner, your presence here is perfectly normal. Arthur pauses for a moment, thinking, now, I suppose that after all the efforts you must have gone through to find me, you have no doubt a lot of questions. Fire away. Where's you at? Where's you at? Originally, I was looking for a friend, a record store owner, French. He was looking for you too. His name is you. Have you met him? No, I'm sorry, I can't say I have. Really? I'm sure he would have found you. I assure you I would remember. Like you, and probably like him, I'm not affected by a realignment. That's the second time you use the term. Realignment, what does that mean? How can I explain this simply? Let's say it's one of the possible effects of the Koros. Aw, what? The Koros. We got scientific terms now? Yes, the choir of the gods, if you prefer. That's what we called the vibration on the record during the joining time. What do you call it then? I shrug. I don't know, I just say the record? Arthur smiles. Yes, that probably makes more sense. Each time that someone listens to the record, reality changes to adapt to the modifications that the person has made to their past. Our memory, our recollections, the sum of what we are, as it is, remains intact. This is so pride of them. And there is a principle of economy, if you wish, which makes the changes limited as possible. It's extremely difficult, indeed very improbable, to instill a global change. Generally speaking, someone's listening does not affect others, but it does sometimes happen that one is the eyewitness of a change in reality. Objects or people who appear or disappear before your eyes, or more rarely the geographical movement of the witness themselves. I call that a realignment. That's exactly what just happened. You went back to your past to find out where I lived, didn't you? I nod. On the record sent you to the moment in past where you could obtain that information. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Which is why you're here. You know, your intent is the principal factor with your life, which the record will make you relive. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Huh? That's the reason I saw you appear in my office a few moments ago. But how do you explain that you were aware of my sudden appearance when your partner reacted as though nothing odd had happened? I don't really have an explanation. Or at least I'm not prepared to suggest something I'm not completely sure about. Nobody truly knows how it all works. Generally speaking, the person who's heard the chorus is the only person who's aware that reality has changed. I think back to Marie and Robin. That explains why they had no memory of Jean-Baptiste. Perhaps I simply had the good luck to be in the same room as you the moment of realignment. As for David, he simply wasn't present for that quite singular occasion. For him, you probably arrived in Boleskine earlier, entering by the front door, and then we shut ourselves away in my office to talk. Can you tell me more about how the record works? You seem to know how the record works. Can you tell me more? No is a big word. But yes, if you consider that I'm one of the handful of people in the world who have heard of the Chronos, I suppose that gives me some authority to the question. What do you want to know? Can you undo the effects? Is it possible to undo the effects of the record? No, that's impossible. I'm sorry. Once you've heard the Chronos, you can't go back. Even if by some miracle you manage to come back to the back to a reality very close to your original reality, you wouldn't be the same. You'd remember what you lived listening to the record and living inside of other versions of yourself. Unless Pullman leans back his chair and seems lost in thought for a while. Theoretically, if someone else went back to the past to stop you from listening to the record, he breaks off. No, that wouldn't work though. You would no longer be conscious of the existence of the Chronos, but as you had heard in your original reality, you wouldn't inevitably be different from who you would be if your past had not been modified. A sigh escapes me. So even with the record available to me, I could never completely return to my original reality. Oh my god. No, I'm sorry. But you said even with the record available, you do realize that you don't have the record available to you anymore, don't you? I suddenly realized that I haven't checked if I had the record still with me. I grabbed my bag, which rested by my feet, and frantically rifled through it, trying not to panic. Clearly, the record is not there. Alice, I understand your reaction, but do try to stay calm. Where were you just before you materialized here? In a hotel room in Glasgow. The record stayed there then? Pullman nods. Yes, I'm afraid so. Can I use your telephone? I tell myself that the chances of me finding it are slim, but I have to try. Arthur points to the office door. In the entrance hall. Turn right when you go out of the office, then left at the end of the corridor. I'll wait here. Thanks. Oh my god, my hair is black. I have no trouble finding the entrance hall. The telephone is on a small desk across from the front door. I'm about to pick it up when I notice my reflection in the large mirror which hangs on the wall above the desk. It takes me several moments to realize that the image I see reflected is my own. Okay, but this is kind of fire. Like, she's not blonde anymore. She's not dumb. As I had suspected, I now have a piercing in my lower lip, which doesn't clash with the rest of the outfit, which is decidedly rock. In the reality, I've cut my hair pretty short, and I've colored it a solid jet black. In other words, an easy color to look after, but impossible to get rid of once it's done. If I decide to go back to blonde, the only solution will be to cut it all off and let it grow out. I personally like it. Oh, okay. So I'm guessing that with the light. I'm guessing the lightning is then like a change in style. The new appearance is certainly poles apart from Alice the banker, who I've left behind me by listening to the record. But finding the slightly punk version of myself, who in any case doesn't look like she lets herself be walked all over, is almost cathartic. It will probably take a little time to adapt, but something tells me I could get used to it pretty quickly. I turn myself away from the reflection and pick up the telephone before realizing that I don't know the number of the hotel. I rummage in my bag and I'm relieved to pull out a crumpled bill from the night in the station hotel in Glasgow. The number of the hotel switchboard is written below the address. I explain my situation to the receptionist, and she has a nose piercing too. She tells me that no, I forgot nothing in my room which I had checked out the day before last. I insist. She tells me that actually a woman had come to the hotel in the afternoon. She had asked to get back a vinyl record, which had been forgotten in room number 23. That's definitely Eva. The room hadn't been let for at least 2 weeks, but at least the woman's urging. She finally agreed to check. She had been astonished when in fact there had been a vinyl record and a little travel record player in the room 23. She confirms that yes, of course she had let the woman take the record, that she's sorry, but that I had been in room 17, that she couldn't have guessed that the record belonged to me, and actually on that subject she'd like to know how I managed to get into room 23. I tell her that it's not important, however, if she could tell me the name of the person who had reclaimed the record, that would be great. She tells me that she hadn't thought to ask her name, but it was a woman, middle-aged, with white hair and wearing a dark pantsuit. I thank her, hang up, and hiss Eva behind my teeth before the handset is even resting back on its support. Then I return to the office. Pullman has changed the music in my absence. He's smoking a cigarette by the window while he waits for me. Oh, excuse me. He steps it out in the ashtray left on the exterior windowsill. David's forbidden me from smoking inside. We've compromised on this. I'd love to quit, but I'm afraid it's rather late for this old dog to start learning new tricks. He sits back down below his desk. So? I think it said behind, not below. I'm afraid someone's already got the record. Let me guess, a woman in her 40s? Answer, so the name Eva Lorenz, am I right? Do you know her? Arthur lets out a sigh. Yes, I've known her since she was a child. What? But I haven't seen her for more than 10 years. How have you known her for so long? Have you known her for so long? I was a member of the commune where she was born in Germany. Let's just say quite close to our father, Ernst Lorenz. Pullman breaks off and stares out the window, his gaze far away for a minute. Anyway, I preferred if she hadn't got her hands on the record. Me too! What, you think I'm happy about this? To be perfectly honest, I suspected that I'd hear from her again sooner or later. Someone knocks on the door. Yes? Art, will you be staying at the manor tonight, Alice? I've made a guest room for you. You did quite right, David. Alice and I still have a lot to discuss. We'll pack this up after dinner. Thanks, bro. Thanks very much for your hospitality. You're very welcome. We love having people to stay at the manor. It's a big house. It's made for entertaining. I follow my host into the dining room. David has cooked a simple but delicious meal. He serves me a glass of red wine while he scrutinizes me with a piercing, curious gaze. Tell me, Alice, what do you do? I imagine it's something to do with music, considering how much time you spent with Art. I smile and take a sip of wine, winning myself some thinking time. I admit to myself that I have no idea. One thing's for sure, I'm certainly not a banker in this reality. On the one hand, I could vaguely answer that I work in music, which isn't exactly a proven fact, but it does seem to line in with this new reality. On the other, I can answer and tell him I work in a bank, in spite of all the clues which suggest that's now extremely impossible. I work in the music industry? I don't know. Okay, flower, that seems to be alright. Yes, I do actually work in the music industry. I needed some information about a rare record that only Arthur could give me. David smiles. That doesn't surprise me. Art's a real fountain of knowledge. Now that he's retired... I keep pushing him to write something on the subject. What do you think, Alice? Arthur cuts us off. David, you're surely not going to interrogate our guest, are you? No, sorry, I didn't mean to pry. I hope I haven't made you feel awkward. I tried to point the discussion in a less prickly direction. How did you get to know Arthur? My dad was Latino, my mom American, and I grew up in Queens. I met Art in a club in the East Village. He was a local correspondent for the BBC. It took him a few years to persuade me to move to London with him, but I'm happy to say I don't regret it a bit. Arthur, who had risen to clear away our plates, strokes his partner's shoulder with affection. Cheese or straight to dessert? Dessert. David gives a winning smile. Whichever you prefer. Cheese on the table will give me an excuse to eat it. Dessert. Dessert. Straight to dessert, thanks. David's cholesterol levels say thank you, Alice. Arthur disappears into the kitchen with our plates. Art never talks about his youth, but I think that's really a shame. He had the chance to see the biggest bands of the 70s. He's got some incredible live recordings. Arthur returns with a bowl of fruit salad and dessert dishes. Did you make her listen to your recording of Miles at the Stafford Music Festival? Art managed to capture the last record of Miles Davis' Electric Period. It's truly incredible. Alice isn't here for that, David. Don't listen to this party pooper. He doesn't like talking about his youth. It's mostly because that period's pretty fuzzy to me. Yes, the world must have been horribly drab before you met me, Art. I laugh. They're both charming and cultured. I'm having a very pleasant evening. Whoops, did I accidentally? We talk about music, about everything and nothing. Arthur tells me about his radio show on the BBC and his life in London in the 90s. By the time we get to the coffee, it's already quite late. Why are you drinking coffee that late? David excuses himself and goes to bed, but not without first showing me the way to my room. Then Arthur and I go into the living room. Was it coffee? Yeah. Why are you drinking coffee? After dinner, bro. You'll be awake all night. Then Arthur and I go into the living room to continue our conversation. It's a cozy room. There's an old stone fireplace with 2 leather armchairs and a couch placed in front of it. Arthur puts a log on the hearth while I take a seat in one of the armchairs. Can I get you a nightcap? Cognac? Whiskey? I'd love one. Whiskey's perfect, thanks. Arthur pours out a glass of Talisker. I know we're closer to Speyside here at Boleskine, but what can you do? I like the island whiskies. He leans back at ease in the armchair. I take a deep breath. There's something bothering me. I'm not necessarily sure. I mean, I guess what must I do to get the record back? What must I do? Oh, wow, go. What must I do to get the record back? Do you know where I can find Eva and her organization? Arthur gestures to me to have a little patience. Yes, I think I know where you can find Eva in the record, but I'd like to start by telling you my story. I think, or at least I hope, this will all make much more sense when you know about my experience. Alright, story time. Sit down around the fire, kids. I'm listening. Holman takes a gulp of his whiskey and puts his glass down on the coffee table. The year I turned 22, I joined a hippie commune in Germany, in the south of Bavaria, a few miles from Munich. I was young and I dreamed of freedom. I had a terribly middle-class family, and I thought that I had better get a move on and have a few adventures before my ingrained middle-class sensibilities could take root. So I took a ferry to the continent, and I wandered around France and Italy for a few months before taking up residence in the commune in the Bavarian countryside. It was there that I met Ernst Lorenz. For a while, he was my mentor, maybe even my friend. Okay, yeah, sure. He was an extremely cultured man with incredible charisma. He was over 30, one of the oldest of us, which gave him a sort of natural authority. The commune aimed to be staunchly democratic, but in reality, it was often he who guided the direction and who decided when a decision needed taking for the governing of the community. Was it a cult? Those first years were fantastic. We had lived a carefree existence, we had cultivated the land, we did a bit of crafting, worker work, pottery, to exchange for all that we couldn't produce ourselves. There was music every night, we took acid frequently. Okay, what has this got to do with Eva? What has it got to do with Eva? Arthur smiles. Have patience, I'm getting to it. Eva was born the year before I arrived. Her mother, a young woman in the commune, died in childbirth. Oh. Ernst adopted her as if he were her father, which was certainly a possibility, but it was absolutely not a certainty. It was the era of free love. The concept of monogamy was pretty hazy for the members of the community. Whatever the case, he had raised her as his daughter. Eva was an odd child. She was clever, precarious, and she often seemed more adult than child. I found out years later that Ernst had made her listen to the record several times during her childhood so that she could be liberated as soon as possible from the yoke of reality. I've got no idea what the effects of the Chronos could do on such an immature psyche, but I imagine that it must have been a determining factor in the construction of her identity. How did the record fit into all this? Oh, it was always there, right from the commune's beginning. It belonged to Ernst originally. He never wanted to reveal where it came from. I think his father had discovered it in some way or another and had it engraved on acetate. Ernst was from a very wealthy family. He created the commune after he inherited the land which had belonged to his family. I didn't learn that until later either. Things started to change in the second half of the 70s. Little by little, Ernst's position became more radical. It was insidious, but oh, Jesus Christ, that was very loud thunder. It was insidious, but the commune began to change gradually into a quasi-religious splinter group. The enchanted interlude to the hippie era was ending, and not just in our community. There had always been arrivals and departures in the commune. Then there came a time when, without us noticing, the tide changed. The departures became more frequent than the arrivals. What happened after that? What happened after that? As I told you, things started to change. I didn't want to face the truth. It broke my heart to watch our ideal life slipping away little by little. And to tell the truth, I was terrified at the idea to having to reintegrate into society. It was during those years that Ernst revealed the existence of the record to me for the first time. I think only the closest and most devoted members knew about it, even at the start of the commune. I heard the Chronos for the first time in 1981. This is definitely a cult. It was an incredible experience, as it was all for the initiates. Initiates? Oh, Jesus Christ. I relived the times in the first years of the communes, moments of simple happiness in bygone days. For a very long time, I had no idea that the Chronos allowed you to change the past. Ernst needed me to manage the day-to-day organization of the commune, and that suited me to a T. By 1985, there were only a handful of yearly residents left. There was Ernst, his daughter Eva, 3 other followers, and myself. We had moved into the great Lorenz family mansion. I had become the de facto personal secretary of Ernst Lorenz. Excuse my bluntness, but where did the money come from to finance all that? Well, I mean, we already kind of know. That's fascinating, but what was the point of all that? Arthur shrugs. What's the point of life? Dang. Alright. There's a hesitation before he clarifies what he means, an enigmatic smile playing on his lips. What I mean is, I never knew if Ernst truly had a long-term plan. I think he had simply found a way of life that suited him, and he did what he had to do to make it last. I mean, it must seem strange to you, but to be perfectly honest, it was quite a pleasant life. It took some time for me to mourn the loss of those hippie ideals, but once I got into the new routine, well, I don't really regret those years. In that case, what made you leave? A combination of various factors. For some time, I'm not saying that. The RFA's intelligence service had been watching us. Like the sword of Damocles, the menace of their strike on our network hung over us. Ernst had sunk into a kind of permanent paranoia, which was only worsening with time. With hindsight, I'm sure it was a warning sign of his illness. With the fall of the Soviet Union, great, we took advantage of the chaos generated by the reunification to emigrate to the other side of the Iron Curtain to Prague. I think it was Eva who had whispered that idea in her father's ear. I'd imagine she realized with all the upheaval, she'd have an opportunity to carve herself out as a more important and decisive role in the organization, which is exactly what happened. So the organization relocated again and presented itself as a kind of occult allegiance club, vaguely Masonic, at least from the exterior. The Aeon Karos log? Aeon Karos? What does that mean? As you may have guessed, the name wasn't chosen by chance. The concepts are rather complicated to explain. Do you want the long version or the short? The long version, dude. Give me the details. Sit back in my armchair. Let's try the long version if you don't mind. Pullman sighs. As I told you, it wasn't very abreast of the what you might call mystic part of our organization. Even if I was pretty much in charge of the operational aspects of our activities, of course, I asked Ernst about it. What did he tell you? Ion, Kairos, and Chronos are the 3 terms which respond to the different aspects of temporality for ancient Greeks. The notion of Chronos is the easiest to understand. That's what we, modern man, simply call time. One could, at a push, translate Ion as a notion of eternity. As for Kairos, it's more difficult to explain. Okay. As for Kairos, that's more difficult to explain. It's the deciding moment, the infinitesimal amount when everything changes. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Yes, it's perfectly clear. I think of my own experience with the record, reliving those moments of change and resulting ripples of transformation. The choice to associate eternity and deciding moment, as you say, the ion and the kairos, is almost poetic, but all that doesn't tell me how you managed to escape. Sorry, you're right. I'm afraid I got a bit off track there. I'll try to stick to the basics, but I could talk to you all night without getting through everything that happened during those 20 years of my life. Anyway, it was the move to Prague which marks the beginning of the end for me. Ernst was suffering from an early onset of and aggressive strain of Alzheimer's disease, undiagnosed of course. While we stayed in Bavaria, in the house that he had always known, I think he managed to counteract his progressive memory loss. In a completely new environment, however, his condition worsened rapidly. Eva became more and more important, finally superseding his father as the head of the organization. Little by little, she moved me to the sidelines. When Ernst died in '91, I began to question my own commitment to the lodge. I suppose you could call it a midlife crisis, but the fact is I wanted to change my life. And also, while Ernst and I simply defended our way of life, Eva had other ambitions. She was the most diligent student of the Chronos, to which she had access all the time, unlike the other initiates who had only had the chance to listen to the record during special ceremonies which were organized twice a year. What were Eva's plans originally? Do you know what Eva's plans were originally? She must certainly have had a vision when she took charge of your organization, right? Oh, I wasn't completely in her confidence, even in their confidence, even during Ernst's time. But it became worse when Eva took the reins of the lodge. What I'm sure of is that, yes, she had plans and ambitions, and that the record was necessary for her to realize them. Ooh. However, I don't believe that even the most initiated knew the full scope of the plans she was fermenting. You're familiar with the saying divide and conquer? That's exactly how Ernst and Eva functioned. But without Ernst's reasons and wisdom to curb her, I was afraid Eva would drive us to lose everything. It had already been a long time since I felt like I belonged in the organization, but after Ernst's death there was nothing more to keep me there. So I'd use the ceremony of Koros, in the spring of 1991 to change my past. And without knowing it, I managed to break the rules and move the record out of Prague. But you told me that the record couldn't be moved geographically while being listened to. There's a loophole to that rule. Let me explain. Having spent most of my adult life in the commune, then in the Lorenz home, the Chronos systematically sent me back, give or take a few years, to the same place. I had very little maneuvering room to change anything in my past. This time was no different. What was different, however, was that I was desperate. I realized that I couldn't escape by changing the moment the chorus had sent me to, so I listened to the record again in the past. This time the record took me to London before my departure for the commune, which gave me the opportunity to decide not to go. And when you came back to the present, you were a radio presenter on the BBC? Exactly. Not only did I find myself sitting on a treasure trove of live recordings of all the great bands of the 70s, but also I was in a relationship with a charming, funny, cultured man who you met earlier. On the one hand, this time the change to the chorus had wrought on my whole life was radical, and my new life had almost nothing in common with my original reality. But on the other hand, I was free. This turned cultist so fast, I'm still digesting it. Me too, that kind of threw me for a loop. But on the other, I was free and I've never regretted my decision. What happened after? I suppose that Eva must have tried to find you. Oh, yes. It was hardly difficult to find Arthur Pullman, radio presenter on the Great British Airwaves. She had came to see me in London maybe 1 month after my departure. I think that said after, huh? After my departure. At that time, I had no idea that the record had disappeared. When she realized that I didn't have it, she left me alone. She had nothing more to gain, I guess? I understand. She had nothing to gain from messing up your life. Exactly. And well, I've known her since she was born. I tell myself that somewhere deep down, maybe she still has a tiny little bit of affection for me. Probably not. Either way, despite all of our failings and shortcomings, the Lodge remains the successor of the hippie ideal. And those are the values that Eva was raised with. I'm fairly certain she would have always chose the non-violent option if she could. Anyway, there it is. You know what you came after. There's something I don't understand. What happened to the record? I think it materialized in the place where I listened to it again in the past, where I heard the Chorus. I keep on saying Kronos. Chorus. So, in the location of the commune, in Bavaria, that's it. Ernst had wanted to sell the property when we moved to Prague. The money from the sale allowed them to finance a large residence in the Malestrana district near Charles Bridge. Then, whoever bought the Lorenz family house, they found the record? Probably, but it's more complicated than that. The property was transformed into a hotel after the sale. The type of place you rent out for weddings, you know? I nod. A needle in the haystack situation, then? Indeed. Besides, I'd never heard any more about the record, except those legends hawks by the record collectors, the store owners, and the other musicians, which I have resisted adding to. Oh my god. Well, at least not until you materialized in my office earlier. Sorry, bro. I'm sorry for making you relive all that painful past. Arthur gestures that there's no problem. Oh, the castle. No problem, with a wave of his hand. Oh, I guess this business would resurface sooner. Wait. The castle? Hold on. What you talking about? Is that... Don't tell me Jean-Baptiste in on this, bro. Oh, I guess this business will resurface sooner or later. As I told you, I regret not destroying the record when I had the chance. Perhaps I could have ended all this. He finishes his drink with one swallow and checks his watch. However, I hope you'll excuse me, but it's late. We'll finish this conversation tomorrow if you don't mind. Okay. Very well. Thanks again for your kindness and your hospitality. Arthur smiles at me. Come on, I'll walk you to your room. The Boleskine guest room is a big room decorated in cozy rustic style with an adjoining bathroom. My travel bag rests on an upholstered seat at the foot of the bed. My hosts certainly know how to receive their guests. I go quickly through my bag, realizing that it probably doesn't contain the same things as before I listened to the record. My new wardrobe, unsurprisingly, is as Spartan as it is monochromatic. Black jeans, black shirt, gray and black t-shirt and tops. I pull out my wash bag and an old faded Led Zeppelin t-shirt, which by the way seems very appropriate for spending the night in the former secondary residence of Jimmy Page. Then I get undressed and wait. When he said something about the place being rent out for weddings, I thought of the castle because wasn't Jean and Alice going to get married or something? I really do not remember. I am just trying to absorb everything that is happening right now, cuz I usually go back and watch it to fully understand. Then I get undressed and discover that my arms are covered with tattoos. Oh my god. It's a booby. Going into the bathroom to examine my new image in the mirror, I'm discovered with surprise that my back is also covered in black ink. I cannot prevent a small, ironic smile at the thought that I can say goodbye to my former career at the bank. Then I take a quick shower and slip between the sheets, hoping that sleep will find me rapidly. I enter the kitchen shyly. David is reading the newspaper as Arthur prepares scrambled eggs. The radio, probably tuned to the BBC, delivers a morning news report. It's he who notices my presence on the doorstep. Oh, good morning, Alice. Did you sleep well? Obviously, with all my adventures on the previous day, my night has been a little disturbed. But does Arthur really need to know that fact? Why not, bro? I have to admit that after all my adventures, my night was a bit disturbed. I understand there's a lot of new information to take in. I sense that Arthur would like to say more, but after a glance in David's direction, he chooses caution. Do you like English breakfasts? Do take a seat, please. I obey and sit down. David puts down his paper and picks up the coffee pot. Coffee? I hold out the mug in front of me. Yes, please. I've hardly had time to take a mouthful of the delicious, rejuvenating nectar when Arthur places a plate of scrambled egg, sausages, and baked beans before me. I never understood the beans part. To which he adds 2 slices of toast straight from the toaster. Like scrambled eggs and sausages and like the toast, that sounds fine. What I never understood was the baked beans. It's literally a gay couple and their Evo daughter. We eat in silence. David sips his coffee. Arthur seems engrossed by the radio. I finish my plate quickly, pour myself another cup of coffee, and use the quiet to try and assemble my thoughts into better order. Beans are so gross. Why British people? Did you guys ever see that like one cursed image about like the beans on like the toast? Bro, I'm sorry, that's just foul. I mean, Bush's baked beans aren't even like that bad. Like the barbecue ones are okay. But it's just like I just don't eat baked beans that much. Like I don't think I could eat that early in the morning. The first the first startling information, jellied eels. Oh nah. The first startling information is it would seem that you had never reached Boleskine. Dang. I imagine that what happened was that after the traveling to Glasgow, you probably backtracked to Paris, where he decided to send the record to me. I can only think of 2 reasons why he would have decided to give up his journey to Boleskine. Either he judged that his visit would be too dangerous. I suppose that he was also followed by Eva and the members of her lodge, Ion Caros. Realizing that the noose was tightening, perhaps he preferred to muddle the trails by changing his route and by getting rid of the record as fast as possible. The other option is that for him too, the trail to Arthur stopped in Glasgow. After all, I was only able to discover the address of Pullman's new home by returning to the past. It's possible that he hadn't remembered that the sale of Boleskine had taken place, and that the person he was seeking was the one who had bought the property. So he would have returned to Paris to seek out a new lead, and the Anne Caros must have caught up with him there, and he had sent the record to me rather than let Eva get her hands on it, which makes me even more mad at the idea that it's my fault that Eva was able to fully achieve her purpose. As for me, I find myself stuck in the new present, in this new life that I know nothing about. Does Alan still know me in this new reality? How about Beth and Garrett? If one thing's for sure, it's that there's no way this new Alice leads a tidy little life in Bordeaux. It all seems so far away, although only a few days have passed. Arthur's voice drags me from my reflections. I'm going to pick up the post at the letterbox. If you'd like to come with me, it would be company for me and it would give us a chance to finish our conversation. David's going up to Inverness to do some shopping this morning. He'll drop you off at the station. My hosts are most certainly perfect. Not knowing how to express my gratitude, I content myself with saying thank you. I pick up my plate and mug. David gestures me to leave them in the sink. Then after running to my room and grab my coat, I join Arthur at the entrance hall. We go out. Outside, the weather is cold and dreary. The green highlands landscape is enveloped by an early morning mist which hasn't yet lifted. Arthur hands me a piece of paper. This is the address of the lodge in Prague. Now that Eva has the record, I think I can confirm that she'll take it back there. I'd like to do more to help you, but it's been 15 years since I've severed my ties with that part of my life. You've helped a lot, bro. Respect. You've already helped me enormously. I don't know how I can ever thank you for your hospitality, for all the information you've given me about the record. Oh, there's no need to thank me. As I told you, I do rather feel responsible for what's happened to you. Pullman points to the lane which winds away from the house. The post box is at the end of the lane near the road. We start walking. So, do you know what you're going to do? What I'm going to do? Yes, when you leave Bolskine. I don't suppose it will be too difficult to find a flight from London to Prague. It's true that I haven't really considered the question. On one hand, Arthur is encouraging me quite insistently to try to get the record back. On the other, why should I really do it? I don't have much information about this new reality except for a few clues I've been able to glean from my belongings. I could go home to Bordeaux, take some time before making any decisions. How do you even know if you still live there? I could also stop in London, drop in on Alan, even if I don't even know if we still know each other in this new reality. And then there's you. If he had never came to Bolskine, where could he be? I think back to our encounter just yesterday for me, 3 years ago for him. What did he mean by we don't need to break up anymore? It would have been so simpler if I could just find him. No matter what, I'm not going to charge straight ahead to Prague. Not before I learn a little about my new life. I think we should go back to Bordeaux. Because if he's saying, like, we never have to break up, then he still might be there. I think I'll start by going home to Bordeaux. After all these adventures, I need to know who I really am in this new reality. I understand. I hope you'll find the answers to your questions, but don't lose sight of the fact that, how should I put it, you're still you deep down. I don't believe that the choices we make change us in our deepest essence, if you see what I mean. I'm not so sure. It's not so simple to change one's destiny. I'm not sure that you can separate yourself completely from your own past. In any case, thanks again for this address in Prague and for everything else. Arthur just smiles at me this time. We reach the mailbox. He opens it, sees that it's empty, and we head back to the house. David is waiting for us at the door. It would be a good idea if we don't hang about too long. I'd like to be back for lunch. And anyway, the earlier we get going, the less difficulty you'll having finding a train, Alice. I nod. I just need a minute to get my things and I'm ready to go. A few minutes later, I climb into David's old 4x4. Then we leave Bolskine, heading for Inverness, then London, then Bordeaux. Okay. That's it. I'm done for today. How long have I been doing this? I think it's been about 2 hours. Yeah. Okay, then we're gonna do chapter 5 and 6 tomorrow. Probably at the same time. Okay. Oh my god, but like that chapter seems shorter. It is, but like only cuz we had cleared the first 2 chapters at about 2 hours and like 8 minutes, and then this one is just about like it's 5 seconds away. Boom, 2 hours. But yeah, chapter 5. No, bro, we doing that tomorrow. But the plot's really thickening. Okay, we're dealing with a cult now, bro. That's I don't know how to feel about that. Ooh. Okay, now. But I think this will be around the time that I stream. Because then I'm going to do chapter 5 and 6 Friday. And then I might not do anything to like the day after that. And then we might start on the new game that I haven't downloaded it yet, but it's another one and it's supposed to be a comedy. So I hope that one works out. Oh my god. Okay. Alrighty.